Welcome back. You're watching Morning Express, and today, far from youth agenda, we are taking a look at women in STEM. Today is a very interesting, rather important day for women in science, because it's the International Day for Women and Girls in Science, and we're going to be taking stock of what the gains that we have all made in pursuit of that, and find a way of analyzing how we have weathered in terms of ensuring that more girls are embracing science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And this is quite important because they bring a very good and peculiar perspective to these fields. So joining me for that is engineer Christine Ogut, who's the chairperson of the engineers chapter. We also have M.Mutinda, HAC, who's a transmission system planning engineer at KETRACO, as well as engineer Grace Onyango, all coming to us live via Zoom. Welcome to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
And now, it's good to have you this morning. Now, we'll start off with engineer Grace Onyango. Could you tell us what this day means to you as an engineer?
I think it means, number one, a celebration of women engineers and what we have achieved in the world. It's good to see that a day has been given to women to recognize their achievements and their contributions to the STEM field. Globally, the number of women engineers who go into STEM-related fields, either in career or for education, is really, really, really small, and perhaps that's the gist of what we're going to discuss today. So, to me, as a woman engineer, a female engineer, and knowing the journey I have taken to get to where I am, I'm excited about the day. Thank you.
Okay, and we shall be getting into your own personal experiences in the fields in a while, but I'd also like to bring in Ms. Mutinda. What does this day mean to you, and why is it important?
Thank you so much. And as a young lady engineer, this day is very meaningful to me. And I look at it as a day when lady engineers, especially those who have gone before us and us who are already experienced, inspire, encourage, and motivate women and girls to venture into the scientific world. So for me, it's a day when we highlight the achievements of women and girls. We recognize that in science, and also recognize the great work that women in science and in STEM are playing in various sectors of the economy. And also, it's a day when we foster achievement of gender equality, because, you know, as we bring more girls into STEM and as we inspire more girls into STEM, then we also, you know, reducing the gap in gender inequality.
Absolutely.
So for me, it's so meaningful as even a woman who is so passionate about women empowerment, and a woman who promotes engineering as exciting, rewarding, and fulfilling for women.
Exciting and rewarding. There's also an element of fulfillment there, as has been highlighted by Ms. Mutinda. But last but not least, Ms. Ogut, what does this mean for you, this day as we commemorate it? What does it mean for you as an engineer who has been in the industry for a minute?
As an engineer who has been in the industry for 30+ years, it is an important day to celebrate the women engineers, not in Kenya, but globally. It is an important day to motivate the engineers, the women engineers in this country, the girls aspiring to be women engineers, the girls in the science industry, so that we who are in leadership can actually be role models for them.
Yeah.
So by sharing our experiences with them, we feel that they will be motivated and aspire to even be better engineers than we are today.
Absolutely. And you, go ahead, finish.
So as the chair of the Women Engineers chapter in Kenya, we are celebrating this day, and we are also going to have the World Engineers Day on 4th of March. And towards that, we are going to have mentorship programs for the girl child and for other women engineers. So as we celebrate this day, remember that women are home providers. As women engineers, we build infrastructure, we play a major role in changing the lives of the society we serve.
Absolutely. Now, and who better to start off on the matter of experience? Because I do believe when you were starting off more than 30 years ago, Ms. Ogut, things were not the way they are right now. Of course, STEM has been embraced more and more over the years. But could you paint us a picture of what it was like for a woman having your ambition of being an engineer back in the day and draw comparisons to what it's like today?
During our times, to be a woman engineer was really a major challenge. You had to be very good in maths and science. And at that time, we really didn't have many mentors, people to encourage us to actually take engineering. But the school I went to Loreto High School, Limuru.
Right.
I was encouraged by the sisters to actually pursue engineering. They shared with me what were the benefits. The difference now is that we have institutions like IEK, the Institution of Engineers of Kenya. We have the Women Engineers chapter, who actually are now going out there to encourage women and the girl child to actually pursue engineering courses.
Right.
We have opportunity to look at the data we have, and to see how can we actually promote women engineers. And the data we are looking at is, for example, that when women graduate as engineers, do they then proceed on with their role as women engineers, or do they diversify to other fields? That is actually happening. And we as IEK are going to carry on a survey to actually find out what is this course that is making them change their profession midstream after taking a very challenging course.
Okay. And
we also,
I'd like to just zero in on that experience from the past, because while you were, of course, in a better place position with the sisters, encouraging you and telling you the benefits and enlightening you, basically empowering you to take on engineering, I'm sure there are women in your time who would have loved that, but they did not get to do that. Could you, paint a picture of what the challenges were, if you would allude to some of the other women who are not better placed as yourself?
The first biggest challenge was this idea that maths is a very difficult subject, science is a very difficult subject, and on the basis of that, most girls were not encouraged actually to take engineering. Engineering was looked at as a male-dominated field, and indeed, it is still a male-dominated field.
Yes.
And I have seen the number of engineers increase, the percentage from around 2%, now we are 7% of the number of professional engineers as women engineers.
Okay, and now I'd like to jump over to Ms. Onyango. What, in your view, has been your experience pursuing a career in science? Perhaps shed a light on some of the challenges you have faced, or other people who are in your shoes, female individuals who have the aspirations of becoming engineers.
Thank you very much. Engineer Christine has mentioned two. One, the gender stereotype, because it's seen as a male-dominated field, and therefore girls do not want to get into it. But also she has touched on a very significant point in terms of engineering education. You'll find that probably parents and teachers, they shy off from introducing girls to STEM-related topics from a very young age. Maybe to share my experience, this is how my parents knew I would probably end up in a STEM-related field. For every TV they bought, I would break it just to get into the components and to see who is that person inside there, how did they get there, how do they fit there. And so when they noted that, they nurtured my education pathway towards STEM-related topics. And that is how I ended up as an engineer, with the support of my parents. And so if we are able to introduce girls to STEM-related topics, and Engineer Gut has touched on one thing that I call STEM anxiety. As women, we shy away from math-related topics, and if you look at the way our education system is, I don't know, during the time that we studied, the boys' schools would have things like electricity, maybe flying as courses, but in the girls' schools we'd have things like home science and that sort of thing. So you find from a very early age you're not really exposed. So by the time you are actually getting the interest to get into STEM-related education and topics, then there is an anxiety. You find you're not able to deal with the male-dominated culture, as the engineer has said. When you get into the workplace, for instance, when I got my first engineering job, I was the only lady in a department that had over 100 men, and I was like, oh my goodness, what am I going to do here? But you really have to keep yourself and talk to yourself and get yourself there to make sure that you learn as much as you can, and you do, if the men are doing 100%, you're probably doing 110 and or 120%. So it's important that we as parents, as teachers, as role models, we are able to capture that young girl at a very early age and change her mindset. And by the time I was getting into the area of leadership, and as Engineer Ogut, she's one of my role models. I remember I found myself in one of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and one of the committees, and I found her, and she held my hand, and she helped me navigate and learn matters to do with leadership, matters how to ensure that I become a role model, even as a female engineer. Statistics show, I work with the Engineers Board of Kenya, which is the regulator of engineering education, training, and practice in Kenya. And the statistics that we get of the lady engineers who are enrolling into engineering education or STEM-related education, those who graduate and actually get into training programs, those who actually stay in the training program, vis-a-vis, for example, like me, if I got into it, I find it is male-dominated, I cannot deal with it, I get out, I go probably and look for a job in banking. And then those who end up in practice, who are licensed, who to offer professional engineering services, to run engineering consulting firms, the statistics are actually quite low. And so together with the Institution of Engineers of Kenya and the Engineers Board of Kenya, we are coming up with initiatives to be able to drive the agenda of retaining that young woman engineer in her career.
And keeping them there. For the long haul. And I like that, and I'll get into what those statistics mean in a while, but I'd still like to bring in Winfred to tell us what her experience has been as a woman, a young woman who has pursued engineering. I'm sure it's quite different the time you were in training. What has it been like for you, and what sort of challenges? Are they unique? Are they different from what, let's say, Ms. Ogut has pointed out?
Thank you so much, Ms. Ogut and Engineer Onyango. I've already highlighted most of the challenges, but I would want to go to a more personalized experience as a young lady engineer. And for us, the challenges are not so unique, because even across the diverse engineering fields, we face quite unique challenges. We know that for women in engineering, even finding your voice and space in a male-dominated field is quite a challenge. Sometimes also the gender stereotypes and the bias surrounding engineering for women. And also sometimes, sometimes you feel like your work is undervalued as a woman engineer. In engineering, your ideas are underestimated, and also your potential is not fully tapped, or you are not utilized. Your potential is not fully utilized. As well as for many young lady engineers, we know as we go into the career, most of us, especially between the age of 25 to 35, we are in the childbearing age. And we know that is the age when, you need to concentrate and find work-life balance between your personal life, your family life, and your professional life. So also those healthy boundaries as a young lady engineer is quite challenging. And that is why we encourage that, there's need for support systems for women engineers in order to be able to even re-enter back into their professions and occupations, even after taking a break for family roles. And also, I would also want to talk about a challenge in what we call the glass ceiling phenomenon, in which, there comes a point where women, despite your achievements, despite your qualifications, you seem stagnant in your career as an engineer.
Yeah.
And also, demotivates a lot of women. And I would use a metaphor to refer to this. It's normally said there are sticky floors, there are revolving doors, and there are glass ceilings that ensure that women remain at the same position. But this narrative is changing. We have seen so many women taking positions of leadership, women engineers doing quite much in engineering and contributing positively towards even the achievement of sustainable development goals. And personally, as a young engineer, I would say my desire to pursue science came from a very early age, actually in primary schools. And over the years, it is the academic excellence in science, and of course in high school where I loved physics. And for me, all the sciences, I was a science-oriented student. And my encouragement to all young girls in high school, in primary school, those who are willing to pursue, careers in engineering, is that, you are able to do it. Don't give up on your abilities. You need to unleash your full potential. And also there needs to be guidance for girls at a young age. I feel like they're not guided on how to select science courses in high school. So when they go to pursue engineering and STEM-related careers in campus or in universities or in colleges, you find them self-cutting themselves, or, and selecting yourself from the course because you never made the right choices in terms of career. So to all the young engineers who are experienced, we need to go back and hold the hands of these young girls to offer career and educational guidance. So for me, the main challenge has been the gender stereotyping and also finding my voice and space in a male-dominated field.
Right, and I love that we have Ms. Ogut here. Perhaps you could shed light to some of the things that we've had Winfred highlight as challenges, because I do believe you have been through similar, or perhaps you could have some more wisdom to shed in terms of how to handle issues such as work-life balance. Some of these careers are very taxing in terms of the amount of time they take away from you, and at the same time, your ideas being squashed. As an engineer, anyone, I do believe in a career setting, having your ideas squashed can be quite difficult, or your work being undervalued in terms of remuneration. What would you say to those challenges, and how have you, if you have faced them, handled them?
Thank you very much. I have had very interesting challenges.
Yeah.
And I will give typical example. At one point, I went to a roads project, and I went with a male engineer, and I was the boss, you can imagine. And when we got there, the contractor is referring to my colleague, that, you are the engineer. And for me, he didn't look at me like I was an engineer, but I had to stamp my authority, take charge. So you'll find that at times you're in position of leadership and people don't accept you as a professional.
Yeah.
Then the other challenge I faced again, where on your face, once upon a time I was told on my face, we don't want to deal with old tax like you. We want to deal with, young tax. And that was 27 years into my career as a professional, a registered engineer. And when I'm being told that, you'll not imagine who I was. I was the president of the Africa TechNet that was covering 44 countries in Africa, more than 2,000 cities, and I was the one coordinating all technical capacity issues in terms of training of engineers and other technical officers in the local government.
Wow.
We were based in Morocco, but I got that position by virtue of being a chief officer in the Nairobi City County government. I ran for elections and I was elected. But when push came to shove, Despite holding that prestigious position in the continent, I was sacked. And by virtue of being sacked as a woman engineer, I felt very bad, but I still moved on, stood for elections, and was elected as a council member of the Institution of Engineers of Kenya.
Right.
I lost a position just because somebody did not appreciate that this is a woman engineer with professional qualifications, academic qualifications, fit to be in a job, but there I was thrown under the bus. So when you get those kind of challenges, it is what you do as a professional that matters. It is how you move forward. My rule number one is that I strive to be a better engineer every day.
Okay.
Currently, I work at the National Transport and Safety Authority as a deputy director, safety audits and inspections, and you'll be surprised what I do. I audit the roads to ensure that the road infrastructure in Kenya is safe for all motorists, you can imagine.
So what I'm hearing from you is that there's a need to stamp your authority or be more intentional about being assertive in the face of sexism that is rampant or targeted towards women in this very male-dominated industry. I'd like to get the opinion of Ms. Onyango in terms of how she would advise or how she has been able to, handle the challenges that come with being a woman in STEM.
Okay. I think I've gone through similar experiences, but what I've found is your work actually speaks for itself.
Okay.
And depending on how you handle issues and your productivity, you're able to earn the respect of your male colleagues and your counterparts within the industry. I'll talk about one experience I had in my journey. I happened to work for a contractor at some point for about 3-4 years, and that's in the building services sector. And I was the technical manager, and I was in charge of the delivery of projects. And under me, I had over 200 technicians, engineers and technicians.
Right.
And they were mostly male. I think in my entire team, I only had about 3 female technicians. And so again, when you go to site, it is always, oh, mama amekuja kufanya nini hapa, you know. But it's how you treat them, how you get to their level, how you bring them up to understanding, and how you prove that you are up to the task and that you're able to deliver. And by the end of, I think about within 6 months, I was able to earn their respect, and we worked very, very, very well, and we were delivering projects very, very well. One of the things that I made sure that I did not do, I wasn't bossy. I would get into my overalls. I would pull cables the same way they're pulling cables. I would consult. We would discuss technical matters. We would come up with solutions. If there's an emergency at midnight, you have to get up, you have to assemble a team, you have to go to the location, to the site, and you have to address a problem. So in my experience, I have seen that, number one, it's your work that speaks. The way you also carry yourself as a lady engineer, as a woman engineer, also makes quite a bit of a difference.
Right.
And if you're able to discuss matters, technical matters, and bring solutions that work to the table, then that also gives you quite a lot of mileage in terms of ensuring that you earn the respect, you maintain the respect, and you become the best at what you do.
Absolutely. And we had earlier on Winfred telling us about work-life balance, which is pretty understandable as a challenge, given that we women, we get to a point where you have a family, you need to take care of that, but then there's a demand to actually deliver when it comes to your job. How have you handled that yourself?
At the point where I was getting married, my husband, because sometimes you're out in projects like deep in forests.
Yes.
One of the projects I handled was the automation of the electrical distribution system for Mombasa and its outskirts. So I would my point of operation was from a place called Taru, I think just outside of Savo, all the way to the Malindi area. So the forests around there, Arabuko, Sokoke, Chasimba, all those were in my purview. So so he's in Nairobi, I'm in Mombasa, and we at some point he just told me, if we are going to have a family, you need to look for a job that's on the softer side of engineering, because yes, there's the technical side, but there's also a softer side. Like now I am in the policy side of engineering, because of course, if you're going to get pregnant and you're going to get kids, you want to raise a family, you cannot be running around in a forest. So women, and especially women in STEM, and those who do the hardcore engineering, as I like to call it, there comes a point in time when you sort of have to sit down and make a choice. Winnie talked about having to put your career on hold so that you can attend to matters, family, you have to take care of your families. So I had to make the choice to look for a job on the softer side of engineering so that I'm able to take time and raise my family. A point in time will come when I go back to the hardcore part of engineering, and I look forward to it. But for now, I've had to make that choice to be able to raise my family.
Winnie, do you think that explains then why a lot of female engineers then, or rather women in STEM, actually fall away or perhaps start their careers, but at some point they shift to perhaps banking or whatever else they can do?
Yes, that quite explains it, because you see, when you're faced with a hard decision, maybe between family or also your career, sometimes, we live in a patriarchal society where women are expected to be there for their family roles. And, sometimes it takes the support of a spouse, the support of your family and support systems for you to be able to make decisions that are favorable for your family and favorable for even your career. So this explains even why most women, even though they have a very good platform and engineering as a stepping stone into their career, they also now move into other courses. You can see a woman who was an engineer and now they have moved into administration. They have moved into other, they can move into, less technical fields.
Less demanding.
In order to be able to, the less demanding, yes, to be able to fit into what society expects of them as caregivers. So this quite explains it. And for me, I would want to give an experience where I think I've been able to try very well to balance. When I was finishing my degree in engineering from the University of Nairobi, I was expectant for all of my 5th year in campus. And so for me, I was wondering, yes, I'm commencing my engineering career at a point where I'm already a mother and where I have to be there for my daughter and I have to balance all this. But somehow, just being there and trying to manage myself well, trying to also, be able to seek support when you need help, also being looking at your self-care as a woman and minding your well-being as a woman. I've been able to pull through, become successful in my career at the point where I am. And I feel like my career trajectory has been on the rise. There's no point where I feel like my career has gone down. I feel like from 2017, actually, I've been going up and up in my career. And, despite the fact that I have to be there for my family and for my other personal needs.
Okay. Yes. Engineer Ogut, I'd like your view on work-life balance before we get into what women have to contribute, the unique things that we bring to that to this industry, and why girls should be actually embracing STEM. What would you say about handling work-life balance challenges? Engineer Ogut, are you still there?
Yes, I am. Handling work-life balance.
Yes.
From an engineering perspective, first of all, you need a very supportive environment, both at home and both in the office. I am married to a politician, and he has supported me so that he understands, for example, if I have a call in the middle of the night that I have to go either to a scene of an accident or in the past where there was fire, then he would be there for me. So he understands my workload. In terms of being at home, I have put structures in place that ensure that everything runs smoothly in the family. In terms of the office, I have to put in extra hours of work. As an engineer, a woman engineer, you must work 2 times or 3 times what the male engineer is doing so that your output is actually recognized.
Okay.
I hope you're able to hear me.
Yes, yes, loud and clear.
Yes. So it's really about how you organize your work. I ensure that I also have time. I have a daughter, my last born is in grade 4. So I also have time to actually ensure that I sit and go through her homework with her. On weekends, I like to take time off, be at home, and cook for the family. On weekdays, I have a very good house help who does all the cooking. So I have learned to balance. And at times, when I'm really pressed with deadlines, I have learned that I must carry work home and work round the clock to ensure that I meet those deadlines.
All right. And could you tell us why it is important for girls and women to embrace this career paths, or at least stick with it when they start? Because we have been told by Engineer Onyango how we are having women just falling by the wayside. They start off, they're passionate about this, excited, but at some point they change their courses or they change career paths. Why is it important, and what do women have to contribute to STEM?
I always say that life is what you make out of it.
Yeah.
Set your goals and aim high. So if you decide that engineering is the course, that's the career path that you want to progress with, then you must look and say, where do I want to be at point X in my life?
Right.
What do I want to do? For me, I set my goals, and I said that one day I would be a city engineer. And indeed, one day I was the city engineer for the city of Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya. Many people may not know, but I achieved that. So whatever you decide, and it's not going to be easy. Life has its ups and downs. Even when you're not supported, you must support yourself. You must be able, as an engineer, to identify that in position of leadership, when I delegate, this specific officer is going to be able to deliver. This is their potential, this is their output, and there are those who are not going to support you. Even for those who are not going to support you, learn to encourage them.
Yeah.
So you must set your goals very high.
Yeah, and I'd like, Ms. Onyango, you had some numbers for us. Could you tell us what you think in terms of how the world is doing towards increasing the number of women embracing STEM-related paths? And could you draw comparison perhaps between Africa and the West or the East in terms of engineering, mathematics, science, and all these other career paths that have been deemed male, that are actually male-dominated?
From a global perspective,
Yeah.
I think the problem in terms of women in STEM is still there. If I could just look at some statistics here.
Yes.
In terms of education, 8% of global enrollment, the global enrollment rate into education that deals with engineering, manufacturing, anything in the STEM sector is at 8%. So that can tell you that that challenge is a global challenge.
Yes.
Again, the percentage of female students who select STEM-related courses, especially when they get to universities and colleges, is again is a very, very, very low percentage. I think when it comes to the work sector, it is represented by less than 30% globally when it comes, again, to STEM-related careers. So what does that tell us? It tells us that it's a global problem, and there has to be global efforts to be able to ensure that the girl child is exposed to STEM early, is taken through the opportunities that are there in STEM-related careers, and are retained. If I can localize those figures, again, as the Engineers Board of Kenya, we are the ones who license and we register engineers to practice in Kenya. And we have different categories. So in our entire register, regardless of the category, we are at about 12%. So as a board, we have made several initiatives. Number one, through the Institution of Engineers of Kenya, and using the Women Engineers chapter to be able to raise awareness in terms of mentoring the girl child. Because one issue that has been there is there are very few women role models. So even if the girl knows about engineering, it's only from perhaps a male figure that she has been seen. So I believe that if you can see it, you can be it. So if she can see a female engineer who has made it, who has gone through the challenges that even Winfred has talked about from university, then there is a chance for her to make it in this career. Number two, we run what we call the Graduate Engineers Internship Program. And that program is geared towards ensuring the young engineer, as soon as they graduate from university, they can go through structured training and become professional engineers. We have deliberately made sure that we're recruiting more female graduate engineers into that program so that they're able to get the opportunities that we did not have when we were getting into the field. So they get into a structured training program which gives them the exposure that they need so that they're able to stay and become professional engineers. Also, some of the global initiatives, I've seen the several initiatives at the World Federation of Engineering level that now then trickles down. And we have been, over the years, having initiatives to like getting women engineers in different countries to be able to do projects, innovations, things that can be given things that can get a wider audience, because once you get that wider audience, you're able to capture that young girl who's watching TV. And when we come down to the Public Service Commission, for example, which gives a lot of guidelines on some of these internship programs, they in terms of allowing, or when we are going through the recruitment phase, they have actually brought in gender, and especially, and don't get me wrong, but for the STEM-related fields where the numbers are extremely low, there are points that actually go to being a woman engineer, and you are able to, they try to make sure that you're selected to get into some of the STEM-related fields. So I think that would be my take on that.
Okay, yes. Winnie, when you hear those numbers coming from Engineer Onyango, what comes to mind, particularly from a global perspective, and how do you think we are doing locally in terms of getting more girls engaged in STEM-related career paths?
Thank you, Engineer Onyango, for those insights. It maybe I can also add to some of the UNESCO research findings.
Yes.
You'll find that less than a third of female students in higher education study courses in STEM. And also young women represent 7 to 12% of engineering students in Africa. And also globally, less than 20% of the engineering workforce are women. So I would want to say that even though there's still underrepresentation of women in STEM, a lot of significant milestones have been noticed in the recent past. And I will attribute this to the amount of mentorship programs and networking programs and capacity building programs that have been availed for women. And we have seen women leverage on these opportunities. We've seen women, just make sure that they they enhance their understanding in engineering, and also listen to the experiences of women engineers and other engineers who have gone before them, and be able to pursue these STEM-related careers. Personally, I am a volunteer STEM mentor with a number of networks and organizations. I mentor with Akili Dada, I mentor with the Awedi Network, I mentor with the GN3 mentorship program, I mentor with Akira Cheat, and also currently I'm mentoring with a digital apprenticeship program being run by Eldo Hub. And for me, just mentoring these young girls, I believe that each and every woman has the right to live the dream inside her. And me, as I hold their hands, I say it's good for women as we advance up the career ladder. We need to leave the ladder down so that other women can be able to use this ladder to climb up and to also fulfill their goals and dreams in engineering, especially for women.
Yeah.
So I think mentorship has really contributed, and I've written a lot of articles on mentorship. I've so many podcasts on mentorship, and I encourage those who need to be mentored, you be able to reach out to our role models. We have so many role models. We have Engineer Ogut, Engineer Onyango. I'm so privileged to sit in this panel with them because they are my seniors and they are women I admire and draw inspiration from. So I want to call women professionals, especially in STEM, to embrace the mentoring culture, not just as a personal perspective, but even pursuing a group mentorship for young girls.
Right.
And also, yes, encouraging them to be able to pursue these careers and not to give up on the way, and to just keep climbing up the ladder of engineering.
See through. Now, I'd like Engineer Ogot to touch on the importance of mentorship. It has been quite overwhelming how much this is needed. What is your take on that? As we conclude, could you also give us your closing remarks on the subject of women in STEM?
Mentorship is quite important,
right,
but I just want you to reflect on some figures
that
I'm going to share with you about the women engineers. When we go to the public universities in Kenya,
right,
engineering at management level, we don't have any women engineers. So at management level, we have like 65 members, 17 are women, but none of them are women engineers.
I see.
Then when we go to representation of women engineers in public universities that offer engineering council, now at the council, the decision-making level.
Yes.
Again, we have 64 members, 22 are women, but none are women engineers. Then when we go to representation of women engineers in government parastatals at senior management level, the senior management level in government parastatals, their positions are 292. Out of that, 75 are women, but again, only 6 are women engineers. I am privileged to be one of them. And then when you go to representation of women engineers in government parastatals at the board level, we have 356. That is the representation at board level, the number of board members.
Right.
Then we have 81 women and 6 are women engineers. And what am I saying? I'm saying that there is a lot that needs to be done to actually bring on board more women engineers, strategic positions, to bring more girls in the STEM subjects, so that we can fill in those opportunities, so that we are making decisions that support and motivate women to move to the next level.
And
so my parting shots are that the opportunities are there. It is how we place ourselves as not only just as women, but as women engineers and as women in STEM that will decide what opportunities we grab. Okay. Nobody is going to give us those positions on a silver platter. We have to work hard for them. We have to set goals, and we also have to bring on board other women engineers and the STEM And the girls in STEM, as Winfred has rightfully said, and I'm very happy that she is really dedicated to the mentorship programs. Thank you.
Okay, let's get your views, your closing remarks, Engineer Onyango.
Okay, just 5 very quick points. 1, we need to give girls and women the skills and confidence to succeed in STEM subjects from when they're very young, all the way through to when they graduate from university. 2, we need to put in initiatives, whether they're mentorship programs, whether it's structured training, but deliberate initiatives to attract, recruit and retain women into STEM-related degree programs at the university level. 3, to improve job hiring, retention, and promotion pathways in the engineering employment sector, regardless of wherever they are. That pathway has to be clear so that, as Winnie said, we don't have a glass ceiling, revolving doors, things that will always get in the way of your career pathway. And then we must deliberately break biases. That has to be a deliberate effort from employers, from government, from whatever sector that we are all in, if we want to ensure that women are getting into STEM-related jobs and staying. And finally, as I said, if she can see it, she can be it.
Yeah,
thank you.
That speaks to mentorship. Now, last but not least, Engineer Mutinda.
Thank you so much. And my parting shot would be to actually the society, uphold to the society, to shun the social norms and also the gender bias by supporting the interests of women in science who want to pursue science even from an early age. And to my fellow women who are already experienced in engineering, I want to make a call to mentorship. And I also want to encourage all the women, especially those who are in STEM fields, to keep going, and also to tell them this, show up in each and every assignment that you have, in each and every project that you have to do, in each and every program you have to initiate, show up with confidence so that you can make a difference. And this is how, as a tribe of women engineers, we are going to, to have a breakthrough in STEM and to be able to even be role models to other young girls and women in high schools and in primary schools who are looking into pursuing STEM-related courses.
Okay, wonderfully put. Thank you so much to Engineer Christine Ogut, who's the chairperson of the Kenya Engineers Chapter. We have Winfred Mutinda, HSC, who is the Transmission System Planning Engineer at KETRACO, as well as Engineer Grace Onyango. Thank you so much for gracing our screens and bringing perspective to this issue of women in STEM. Today is the International Day for Girls and Women in Science, and what better way to conclude that conversation? Let's take a short break. When we come back, we'll brief you on what's happening across borders. Stay tuned to Morning Express.